Peace to everyone out there. Welcome to the Real HD Show. This is the place you're going to find on these or any other airwaves where we solve the good, the bad, and the ugly of our people, and we do it with what? Freedom music. Freedom music happens 7:30 to 8 o'clock. I put up the call letters on the bottom. You put it in your URL up above. You come backstage with me. We get to rock out like we know we can. That's the master plan. We give you all that good soulful hip hop, R&B, soca, jazz, reggae, but we do it with a twist. We want it to be motivational, inspirational, celebrational, everything to keep that battery in your back so you can keep moving on, being strong, and seeking that freedom, justice, and equality that we all know we deserve and we're striving for. I'm your host, Vic. Welcome to the Real HD Show, the higher discussion. Please like, share, and subscribe. Turn on your notifications and make sure that you tell everybody that the Real HD Show is on so you can join and we can get it in. Tell a friend. It's them again with adrenaline, the Real HD Show. Sponsor number one, Total Package Energy. Please go support Total Package Energy, melanated company, Olympic tested, people approved. Waters, teas, gels, juices, zips, all kind of things to get you off of that 3 to 5 o'clock lag that you might have and get you back when you have a second half of your day. Maybe some of us are picking up the kids, taking them to activities, or maybe you have to go to work and you need that extra oomph to get you through. Try Total Package Energy. Thank you for joining us. This is a hump day in a great way. Broadcasting just a tee bit late, only because I had a little bit of technical difficulties. But, never to fear, the Real HD Show is here. All right, man. So we here, we in here and doing it. I hope everybody's happy and healthy and having a great start to their new year. I know some people that aren't having a great start to their new year. And, that is the people in California dealing with these incredible fires. And we want to give a shout out to everybody in Cali going through it. We hear you, we see you, we there for you. We want you to know that the Real HD Show is rocking with you. Stay strong. We will get this done. We will do it together. And the Real HD Show got your back. But we got some truths to tell tonight. We got some things to talk about. We got some things to build on. We got some guests to get in the building. So all my guests that were gonna come through, please come through. You still can. The way to do that, I'm gonna put that on the screen right now. Okay, so below there's your call number below. StreamYard.com 9 E4 XT TSZ B3. And just like a gust of wind, my brothers come rolling in.
Hey.
Peace, gentlemen. Peace to the brothers. You know what I'm saying? How y'all doing?
Oh,
man,
you made it
in there, brother.
Get it right
in there.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all coming through. It's going to be a heater tonight, just like our folks out there in the city of Los Angeles are dealing with. You know what I mean? How you brothers doing, man? How's everything on your side of the game?
Busy as all get up, man.
Yes, sir.
Busy.
Yes, sir. A lot to consider in these days and times, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, man. So we here. We doing it. You saw the thumbnail. You know what I mean? LA,
Mm-hmm.
LA is on fire. They don't got no water. Let the pedos burn. Burn.
Burn,
The joke was a play
burn.
on words, but I hope it gets you interested in having a great building session dialogue, chop up on the issue because there's a lot going
Right.
on. Brother Mozzie hit me with a doozy right before the show that we're gonna play about that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? With the
Uh-oh.
with the with the
I'm trying to remember
with
which
the
one
Eaton
that
fire
was.
chief. The Eaton fire
Mm.
chief has some things to say, and he
Mm-hmm.
almost, he had diarrhea of the mouth. So we're gonna see what that's
Yeah.
about in a minute. You know.
Uh-oh.
But before
Uh-oh.
we do that, we are going to get into our ancestors and elders blueprint. And we're going to talk about a little Robert F. Williams.
Oh,
Robert
yeah.
F. Williams. Let's go. Real HD show. Ancestors and elders. Here we go. So I had to check whether or not this brother led the Deacons of defense because he looks similar to the brother who does. And everybody all over anywhere that you talk to thinks that he led the Deacons of defense, but he was in a whole nother area, a whole nother situation in town. But he was about that smoke. He was about that business. You know what I mean? Of protecting his people. He was a soldier. He went away to war, came back, found out that the same atrocities that were going on when he left, racial discrimination, us still fighting for our freedom, justice, and equality, and he saw ways that he could make a difference. So let's check out brother Robert F. Smith and his contribution to the culture. As soon as I could load it up. Come on now, behave yourself. Okay. All right, there we go. Check us out, Real HD Show.
Black militant Robert Williams voluntarily returned from self-exile today and immediately was arrested as a fugitive.
The reality is that America is not God, America is not the end of the earth, and it doesn't matter what the Americans think. In the final analysis, the truth will come out. Well, I advocated violent self-defense because I don't think you can really have a defense against violent racists and against terrorists unless you're prepared to meet violence with violence.
All right, that was brother Robert F. Williams. A little quick snippet. If you want to go on the site, please go on the site. California Black Memories, and give them a like, share, and a subscribe. Check out their page. We got glows forever on the Real HD Show. This doesn't happen all the time. You see, you hear that luck? She on here, bro.
Oh, who's on here?
Wifey, man.
Oh, say
Okay.
word.
Yeah,
Oh,
she
wow.
on here tonight. She on here tonight.
Ah.
Well, you know,
Hey, what's
you're
up, bros?
You're Robert F. Williams of the airways. So, you know, the sister they show him with his gun, that was his wife. So, you know, she was there to support him. She understood the mission.
Absolutely. Like my man Godspeed likes to say, absolutely. So,
Yes, sir.
what do we think about brother Robert F. Williams in the wake of Robert Brooks, in the wake of Tremaine White, in the wake of all of these race soldiers that I like to call them, with their heavy-handedness and the police brutality and the things, the things that constantly circumvent our folks and our, progress within the frame of living in this hemisphere. What is the panel and everybody at home? What do you guys think about Robert F. Williams? And is this a lost ethic? Let me put his book up here. So old school.
Negroes with guns.
Yeah. Quote: racists consider themselves superior beings and are not willing to exchange their superior lives for our inferior ones. They are the most vicious and violent when they can practice violence with impunity. Let's get after it. Brother
In other
Godspeed.
words,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, bro.
in other words, they punks.
Woo. Okay.
Because you got this country set up the way for you.
Right.
You're the majority, and you can practice violence, and it goes unchecked. But one of the interesting things that had happened was there was the Ku Klux Klan was coming to, I think they were coming to get some people or whatever. I forget.
Yeah, it was a reverend. It was a reverend in his town.
Right. Brothers was suited and booted, ready to go to war.
Yeah,
when they got
through.
there, they exchanged a few
they came
gunfire.
through about that business.
They exchanged a little bit of gunfire. Remember back then, we don't have all the laws that we have today. And matter of fact, it was he and his organization of gun owners and his gun organization that he had created. It was them that, because of that confrontation there, the laws changed. Because the local mayor and sheriff was like, yo, wait a minute. Oh, no. We got some Negroes with guns. And once again, when they get checked, they can't fight. But they put the law in place now across the country. KKK cannot have a rally anywhere without getting a permit to do so first. And it was because of that incident.
So, Brother Godspeed, you're right. And Brother Godspeed, I got a question for you. So you're Moor, and I wanted to get a clue from you. You've been to the Moor Science Temple. What is their position on armament? If you don't mind, if you know a little different about it.
Cool. I'm sorry. You know what? Run that by me one more time, because somebody was just calling, so it muted the sound.
Oh no, that's okay. I was saying you're involved in, you study under the Moorish Science Temple, and I wanted to know what was their positionality on armament and vanguard. Vanguard and armament. So I'm glad you called, because we had a whole conversation about armament and the brilliant people that tune into the show. Shout out to Mob Crush, shout out to Twitch. We heavy right now in those areas. Let's go.
Right. Well, brother, hey, I'm laughing because that's a good question. That's a really good question. All right. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, right? So they would rest on the pillars to answer that question, most of them, I believe, as far as like those who are like more in line with strictly the idea of strictly being temple about it, right? Which, Noble Drew Ali is the man that started the temple, you know what I mean? So it was primarily considered a peaceful movement. And as you know, they also had some folks who were in government that was part of their religion movement as well, right? Especially out in Chicago and stuff like that, right? But the thing is that, so that type of more would veer away from the violence. That type of more would veer away from it, being straight up with you, right? That's why if you look through history, keeping it real, you've never seen a more at the forefront of these sort of situations. You never did. Not as far as Moorish American, right? It's the truth. They weren't involved. Nobody could ever dispute that fact. When it came to civil rights and doing all the things that the SNCC was doing and doing all the things that, the Panthers were doing, and to be quite honest with you, I would have to be straight up and say that even the nation got more involved as a group. And the nation was often, criticized for not being involved enough when it came to civil rights. And this is one of the strings that kind of snapped between them and Malcolm X. But the Moorish Science Temple of America, quite honestly, in those times, in those situations, from my knowledge, I have not seen any public record talking about their involvement in these matters, right?
Okay.
Even the great Mosiah Marcus Garvey definitely had way more of a track record doing that. You know what I mean? With the Black Star Line and all the other things he was doing, right? So I would have to say now, if you're talking about today's Moor, where you're going to have Moors who they like to call them fringe and so on and so forth. I'm not too much into calling people fringe just because they're not into the Moorish Science Temple of America, because the word and the how can I say, the description, the identity of Moor is a lot older than the Moorish Science Temple of America, right? So the Moors that the Moorish Science Temple of America like to call fringe Moors, right? Those folks, they think very differently. A few of them, quite a few groups do have their own ideas and have their own weapons, quite frankly, right? As seen on the news, say like about 3 years ago, they had a group that was traveling in between state, going to target practice, and they chose to have their gear on, and it wasn't Moorish regalia either. But when they got pulled over, they said they were Moors, which they were. And the Moorish Science Temple of America won't like to call them that, but they're just not Moorish Americans. You know what I'm saying? But they're Moors because this is their identity that they say they are, and this is their identity they're putting 10 toes down and putting their trigger finger on. So I gotta respect that. You know what I mean? So it's just different groups are gonna have different ways of going about it. But those brothers and sisters that come from those type of groups, they definitely about their life. You know what I mean? Obviously, you know. So, but again, just keeping it real, in the very important pockets of our history, I gotta be honest, you know, and just keep it real. You don't see them at the forefront of these particular movements or these particular situations when people was getting dumped on and getting dogs, you know, having dogs bite on them. You don't get to see that. Not saying, and now I'm saying that, and just to make sure people don't think I feel like I'm a know-it-all, I'm going to say, of course, there were definitely individual situations where they had to stand ground and deal and get busy. But I'm just saying that when it came to like, okay, I don't know, I'm just going to make up a scenario. Medgar Evers just got shot in his driveway. Okay, you didn't see a group of them go over there and address that. You know, not picking on that, but just saying, you know, Emmett Till situation went down. You didn't see a group in any photos or any shoots or any news coverage, you know what I'm saying, with fezzes on representing on that. Moorish Science Temple America is great for other things, but they're not known to be great when it comes to that. They were great for other things, you know what I mean? But I hope I didn't go overboard, but I just try to be a little responsible in answering that question. So I clearly
No,
state,
I appreciate it. That's what we're here to do. We're here to
so I'm
be.
clearly stating
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not saying in small pocket situations they didn't stand ground. Not
Right.
saying that. I'm
Right.
just saying when you're doing the roll call and you got the SNCC involved and the Panthers and whoever is, you know, the deacons, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, hey, that's
And
different.
now, Brother Robert Williams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, you know, an interesting thing about Brother Williams is that he was the catalyst behind the Black Panthers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because one of the things that he always talked about was we need to protect ourselves. And
Right.
he did not believe in nonviolence. And when he was younger and he was part of the NAACP,
Yes.
they kicked him out.
Yes. Yes.
And in 1958, and where he was from in North Carolina, there was, I think it was Monroe, North Carolina, there was a hold on, I got to take a very important phone call.
Now, do you think what we'll do while we waiting for Brother Mozzie to return?
Yeah,
We're going to jump into a
hey.
We're going to jump into a stolen legacy moment on the Real HD show, because we haven't done that in a while. Go ahead, bro. If you got something to add on, Brother Luck, go ahead. No? All right, cool. So we're going to jump into a stolen legacy moment on the Real HD show. And it's a video by a beloved scholar of ours, Naeem Akbar, and he's talking about some pivotal things, and we need to check it out. Let's do it. All right, so we are in a stolen legacy moment because we want to honor our ancestors and their indelible contributions to our freedom, justice, and equality, and what they contributed to helping the planet Earth be better than when we inherited it. And of course, we know that a lot of folks have a franchise of omission, but we're here to remedy that with what Brother Naeem Akbar has to say on this matter right here, right now. Let's go.
We got in trouble when we started imitating white folks. When we decided we wanted to be just like Father Knows Best. We wanted to have us a nuclear family. Don't you put your hand on my child. What you mean, your child? This child has a need. This is our child. This child is in trouble. This is our child. This child has the need to be educated. This is our child. And as long as we thought that way, we were all right. But when it became mine, and when you begin to pull back into these little insulated enclaves locked up in your apartment with your own biological kin, then you started developing some real problems. Because when we were a community, there was no such thing as father absence. Because as long as there was a man anywhere, there was a father around somewhere. As long as there was. No such thing as orphans. Children were always absorbed back into the community, because even if mama and biological daddy died, somebody had a love for those children, would bring those children in, and they'd be a part of the community.
All right, so that's Brother Naeem Akbar with his the great mental doctor, as I like to call him. Had the pleasure of meeting him and conversing with him and really building with that brother as he came to my college as I was becoming a man, and learned a lot from him. We had dinner, we sat down, we talked about a lot of crucial things, and he left a really big impact on my life, man. And I would like for everybody in the community to tell me what you guys think of Naeem Akbar's communication and correspondence about family. And do we like what the modern melanated representation of family is morphing into? That's kind of why I brought it up. Things change. That's inevitable. Chaos, entropy, things are going to change. But the way we control change, what we do with the change is absolutely up to us. Do we like it? Do we think it's real? Does Brother Naeem Akbar make a lot of sense when he says, it's always about a village. It was never about absent daddy, struggling mommy. It was always about what is the community family doing. Your thoughts, Brother Godspeed. What's your thoughts on Naeem Akbar's brilliant approach? Give me
I
one
think
second.
he's right. I think he's right and exact. Because hey, look, let's keep it real. Like people like to talk about polygamy and polygyny and all these kind of things. And the thing is that type of system I could utilize to speak on what he's speaking on, because people misuse the idea of what that is, what that was back in the say like in how could I say, the pre-colonization era, right? Because that was a system that was in place to make sure that there was always somebody there to take care of the family, no matter what happens, even if there was a time of war. Say like I don't know. Say if I'm in the village, me and my brother is warriors, and let's just say, or even a cousin of mine is a warrior, and a cousin of mine goes down, right? And he's the man of his household. Then I would take over that household and incorporate that household within my household. But it wasn't always, best to my knowledge and the little tiny bit of research I've done on it, it wasn't always about a sex thing. It was more like taking care of the children, making sure the children got a male figure they can follow and look up to, and so
Right.
forth. So I'm only bringing that on a roundabout way, just to how could I say, back up what he's saying. He's not wrong. He's absolutely right. You know, there's no way in the world that we can't admit that that's right. And what he's saying is a new paradigm, like how we, like the Intelligent Hoodlum tragedy once said, America eats the young, when he had Chuck D screaming all over the hook. And they're right. You know, it's this system that created a situation once again, when we were all, when our ancestors, or however we look at our people, when our people was doing for self, back in the times of the so-called black, well, I'm gonna use the term loosely, black towns, right? The black towns were attacked
Right.
in different eras, right? Or even some of them just a couple of years apart from each other, like the two popular ones, Rosewood and Tulsa, Oklahoma. Those were people that was doing for self. Those are people that had parents in the household. Those are people that had that strong family structure that was inherited genetically through our people, right? But when we had that rocking and rolling, they come to go after it to break it down so that they can also break down the family. And another thing too, for them to try to say that our new norm is males not in the household. Well, guess who started that? We didn't start that. They started that when they had our people in captivity as POWs, calling us slaves. And yeah, the couples were still having babies, and it wasn't good enough that they were subjugated and born into subjugation. They had to go an extra mile and take the male out the house and send him off to another place, sell him off somewhere else, or loan him like a piece of luggage to somebody else to try to make more kids over at the next plantation down the street. Because those two masters might have had a, so-called masters had a deal with each other. You know what I mean? So you got all these different dynamics, and there's so much more to it than just that alone, you know, from what I'm expressing. But I'm looking at all that, and I'm saying to myself that, yeah, they created, number one, they created the stereotype, and they faked it until we made it. You know what I mean? They faked it until we made it. And I don't mean us building here online. I mean just in general, generally speaking. So I agree with them. We didn't. That's not a trend of ours. It's not. That's invented. That's learned behavior.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the question is, can we improve on that model?
Mm.
Can we come back to those times?
Mhm.
Is chasing the bag more important than those areas
Mhm.
and taking care of those areas? And what does that mean for our progressive future?
Can I
Um,
add on to that? Can I add? Can you hear me, you guys?
absolutely, we got you.
Peace, sis.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Hey,
sweetie.
peace. I wanted to add on what Brother Godspeed was saying, because I never heard that clip, and I was very influenced by Naeem Akbar, because I read, I think it was Chains and Images of Psychological Enslavement,
Mm-hmm.
and that really like changed my life. It opened me up when I read that when I was in high school, I think. But it was a couple of years ago that I came across this clip, and it actually was a sister in Egypt. She was saying that the family, she was kind of critiquing when people can you not hear me? Can you guys
No,
hear
you're
me?
good. You're good. Rock out.
You're crystal
All
clear.
right. Okay. Okay. Because I have my headphones on, so I just wanted to make sure. And she was saying that the nuclear family and that focus could be a deterrent to empathy. And I was like, because as a person that always felt like family mattered and had family influences in my life, I never really thought about it like that. And so then I started to come across these different perspectives of people talking about that. Now, don't get me wrong. I always heard that it takes a village. And I grew up in a generational household. And in the 70s and 80s, a lot of my friends and friends and peers grew up in intergenerational households with cousins and grandparents. Some of us had fathers, may have had our fathers in the home, and many of us didn't. But we had father figures through our uncles and cousins and whoever. So it felt like a richer way to be looked out for than this hardcore nuclear family model that it's not really realistic. And another thing that I think it does is perpetuates capitalism, because if you're saying mine, my kids, it creates a lot of separation. And I've experienced that. It creates a lot of isolation and making people feel like they can't look out for each other and each other's children and each other's partners. You know, we need that support across the board. So I think in these times that are really, really challenging and that are going to continue to be challenging, we really need to look at that and maybe dismantle that. Because for one, we were doing it anyway. You know, many of us have family outside of biological anyway, but sometimes we're conditioned to think that if we don't have the hardcore nuclear family model in our lives, that we're failures or whatever. But I think we got to kind of relook at all of those things. You know, we're an aging population. We've got our elders. We've got children. We got to look at how we can be healthier and how we can help look out for the young ones who may not have it. Because that foster care model that gets pumped, there's a lot of challenges and problems and issues with that. It's actually kind of awful, and I'm not really trying to be offensive to people that it may have experienced that, but across the board, I have read a lot of bad stuff that has come out of that. So I'm wondering if there's some solutions that we can put together, if we can think about family in a different way, so that we don't just throw our children into these systems and cause further trauma to them that may be hard for them to get out of. So thanks for sharing that clip. I had never seen that. And I didn't even realize that he was talking about that so long ago, because it seems like he was like ahead of his time in kind of talking about those things. So sorry, I was kind of long-winded. I'm kind of getting my thoughts together around this as I'm speaking about it.
No, not at all, sis. We happy to hear your perspective.
That was a fire comment. You get the fire right there.
There you go. Ta-da.
Yeah, man, that was a fire comment. We appreciate it. We love it. Keep it coming. If you too want to participate with the Real HD Show, the link is on the bottom. StreamYard.com 94X T2 SZB3. Come on through. You can jump on the stage with us. We 3 deep. We looking for more. This is how we have a higher discussion. Brother Godspeed, Sister Glow, let me talk to y'all real quick. Do y'all believe that with the way and with the travails and the sojourn of our folks within the pantheon of how we've operated within this country, I know I just said a mouthful, and of course the savage inequalities that exist therein, and then of course how the men were treated as disposable for the most part of it, is having a community as a village more of a healthy practice, or should we just have this model where we're closed vested, we're nuclear, we're indoors with it, for lack of a better term, Brother Godspeed, your thoughts?
So you mean more like okay, so you mean more like a model where the family, they need the elders of the house are the only ones really having word with the children and raising the children, and you mean like that versus say a community where, say, like your neighbor down the hallway, or if
Right,
you're on the street, your neighbor down the street. Oh, okay, got you.
right.
You know, you
Given
know.
how
Hmm.
helter skelter
It
living
is
in this
right now.
country could be, you could walk out your door and something could jump off,
Right.
and then where's your children and where's your
Hmm.
wife at after that pops off? You know what I mean?
Well, oh man, that you raised some challenging questions, boy.
Hey man, it's the higher
No, I love it. I
discussion, man.
love
Yeah.
it.
Go
I
tell them.
love it.
Go tell them, man. Go tell them. Tune in, man. Leave that Netflix alone for about an hour and a half. We rocking right here. Go ahead,
You
brother.
know, and you see, I'm laughing because it's no laughing matter, but I laugh because it's out of how could I say, respect for what you're asking. To most
Hmm.
people, that might sound like a few simple words and a simple question you're asking, but it's not easy because I have to say it depends on where you are, where you're living,
Hmm.
who you're around. And then it depends on other things that I know Sister Glo could expound on, meaning not to put her on the spot, but meaning dealing with like your internal thoughts about yourself, your own your view of yourself, your confidence of yourself, as a parent, even to allow somebody
Hmm.
outside of your bloodline to address your kids if they're cutting up down the street.
Hmm.
You see, in Trinidad, and I was born here, but I lived in Trinidad. And I'm telling you, Trinidad was a way easier way to answer that question. The question would have been, yes, let the community raise the kid, because that's what we did in Trinidad when I was a boy in the 70s. They were still raising the kids as a community. Like if they saw me down the street do something silly to the local psychotic person, because that's one thing in Trinidad, I can honestly say you had psychotic person in every neighborhood, if not a few. And the neighborhood knew who they were, and the neighborhood never used to allow them to be harmed, you know, outright harmed. So, like, say, for instance, Madman Myron in Aruca, Trinidad on Main Street, coming up the street looking, like he's going through something. As a kid, I take a mud ball and throw it at him and catch him in the head with it. Guess what's going to happen if the neighbor saw it? Because the neighbor, even though we're not blood related, but they're like my cousins, and they will rain terror, whoop my ass. All right. And if I go home and complain about it, I'm gonna get a second ass whooping. So that's the village raising a child,
And
and
yo,
it's, yeah,
remember Miss Pearl was hanging out the window snitching on everybody.
exactly, bro.
You wasn't
It
getting
was
away with
different.
jack.
It was different.
Yeah, yeah,
So in an
absolutely.
environment like that, I would say yes, the village raised the child, and I don't have a problem with it at all.
Yeah,
But here, it's a little different.
yeah, yeah. What do you think? Last question on this subject, then we're gonna move on to the AAT report. Um, Something that I know is up Glow's alley. Um, what do you think is preventing us from regain? And I know we still do it in pockets, but more and more I see us kind of drifting away from that for one reason or another. What do you think of some of the societal constraints that prevent us from acting in that communal manner?
Late stage capitalism is one.
Mm, fire.
It's a major one. It's just so competitive, and it like seeps into everybody's life, from them feeling like they got to overwork themselves to feeling like they have to be so super competitive about everything. Um, the classisms and all of that is part of the breakdown. It shifted our values. Um, it's hard because I didn't read the article, but the headline was, um, you can't mix intensive parenting and community parenting. And it was just in the Atlantic last week. And
Oh,
I
that's a
think
lot.
what
That's a
they
lot of
had,
foo-foo.
well, the visual of it was them trying to say that um if there's people that's super hands-on, it's clashing with the way if a neighbor tries to come in and say something. We had an incident on our block where a neighbor tried to come and say something about one of our children, and you handed them their ass because that person was out of order, the way that they were going about it.
Right.
Now, it's not that I minded, but it was the way that person went about it. That's what I mean. It's just, now, I think at one point, that particular neighbor, we really looked out for each other over the years. So if that person would have made a comment back then, I think the trust would have been there. Maybe that's what I'm trying to get at, is there's such a breakdown of trust that's what makes it hard. Like what Godspeed was saying in the communities in Trinidad, like if you have that neighborhood block village trust, I'm not saying got to be kumbaya, but just that knowing who people are and like where they're coming from, you feel more like you can trust them to discipline and teach.
Right.
I feel like it's a better way to live because we all have limitations. So like I've never felt threatened because, hey, my daughter wants to be in the performing arts. If I connect her to someone who's a dancer and I don't have the technique of being a classically trained dancer, I'm thinking as a mom, I'm doing her a service by connecting her to someone who does have that skill set that can enrich her. I don't have that. So this, if I have a technical skill I can share with someone else's child, or sometimes they just tune you out. It's good to have some fresh perspectives. So it can be a beneficial thing, but we got the way that society is set up right now, making us all feel so isolated. It is a barrier for us to come together. And so that's why I think we do need to keep having conversations in circles, because we're going to need it. We're going to need it for the future.
Absolutely. Also, I believe that, like you said, beloved, you said late stage capitalism. We the richest, poorest people on the planet. We think as long as we got our little creature comforts and our little things that make our world go round, we don't have to look out for people around us. You know what I mean? We can go weeks and months without talking to our neighbors or talking to our family members or all of that. And I'm here to tell you that that's a lot of foo-foo la-la, because none of us ain't got a window, a pot, a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. Not really, not in real set, not in real time. You know what I mean? We all one check, two checks away from being in serious peril. You know what I'm saying? If we telling the truth, if people stop fronting for a minute, stop capping and tell the truth, that's really what's popping out here. So, we used to have a motto back when I was living in New York City. Each one teach one, man. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's what the poor righteous teachers on the street used to say. Each one teach one, each one reach one. You know what I mean?
Indeed.
And if we brought that ethic back with a roar, with a passion, I think we're going to be all right. Take a kid by the hip, meaning, you take them under your wing, you advise them, you try to be a mentor to them, try to come off non-threatening to the parents so they don't think you're some sort of pedo. We're going to talk about those folks a little bit later. But, it's important that they know that the community is behind them and the community loves them and the community has their back. Ashe, Asheo. So let's move on real quick because we got a lot to get into on the Real HD Show. We're going to jump right into a AAT moment, healthy, wealthier, and wiser on the Real HD Show. Let's go. Oh, before we do, big up to Black Power Marketplace, February 22nd. You can be a vendor. It costs $20. The venue is at the Avenue Corner Store at 398 Thurston Road, Rochester, New York. Y'all jump in both feet, support our businesses, support our people. Let's go. Let's get into an AAT report. Here we go. All right. So we are in an AAT report, healthy, wealthy, and wiser, because we need cell power. It's very important. A couple of years ago, the world went through a crazy time, a pandemic, like is what I like to say, for obvious reasons. If you've been watching the Real HD show, and it robbed a lot of us of our cell power. And there's a famous figure. He's internationally known, but he likes to call himself hood famous. And I'm talking about none other than Reggie Noble. That's right. Y'all know him as Redman. He has a terrific album out right now, Muddy Waters Part 2. But why is he on the AAT report? Why is Reggie Noble and health connected? We're going to find out right now. We're going to throw a little video on. I'm going to pull it up. Oh, actually, let me share my screen, actually. Because I thought I downloaded it earlier and it's playing peekaboo with me. But never to fear. We're going to do it another way. All right. So, big up to Art of Dialogue on Twitch. Actually, Twitter. Here's Reggie Noble talking about Redman has been celibate for 2.5 years. Smoke-free for 2.5 years. What? Reggie Noble is smoke-free? That's right. And he said it's the best thing he ever did in his life. Let's check that out. Real HD Show AAT report.
Instead of just saying, okay, I just quit. Because that word right there and quitting, your mind start fucking with you. You might get around other people that's still doing what you're trying to quit from. So it's not just about quitting. It's about allowing yourself to get around from the distractions of what you're trying to quit from. Like if you're trying to quit from not fucking so much, right? But your boys are constantly going to the strip club and going to the club, then you have to discipline yourself and say, okay, I can't hang around these guys no more. And if they're not willing to understand that I'm fasting from it and I want to stop it, then I can't be these guys' friends no more. My girl and I broke up maybe 3-4 years ago. I was going through such a shit divorce that lasted 7 years. That played a role in why it took so long to drop Muddy Waters as well. 7 to 8 years of straight court divorce. I had so much on my plate. And I actually fasted 2.5 years. No fucking, no smoking.
Wow.
Straight 2.5 years. And it was the best thing I could have ever done in my life. Celibacy, 2.5 years, no smoking, 2.5 years. And it was the best thing and believe me, I wanted to. I was fighting it. I was fighting. I was sweating. I was in my house going crazy because I lived alone. I live alone. So I was in my house going crazy. I was constantly talking to myself, me and God, and we just back and forth. You would think that it was people living in my house, how much I was talking to myself, but I made it. And it was the best thing I could have ever did in my life, Reggie and Jake. And it cleared out so much distractions. Now my reception is more clear now, and smoking to quit it is nothing for me now. Having no sex is nothing for me now because it was all feeding the flesh. And that's basically how the world is turning now. We're feeding the flesh. We're feeding what's good for us, which is not maybe good for the soul and spirit.
All right.
That, my friend, is what I would call an awakened being. That is an awakened being.
Yeah. His album reflects it, actually. Those grooves on his album, I've never seen such a approach that he took to the music that he took this time. His stuff is usually real gritty, grimy, hard beats, hard eights, hard bass lines. This has a more bounce musical feel to it, and it's kind of reflective in a new red. What do you think?
You know what? I have to check the album out. I heard a few singles. I liked a few singles, but it's a
Yeah.
lot of songs. It's a whole lot of songs.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like he could have split that up and come out with 3 albums consecutively and look very consistent out here. But he chose to lump it all in one, maybe because he has much, much more. So he's gonna do what he's gonna do. But I gotta check the album out. You know, honestly, those type of projects, you listen to one part 1 week, you listen to the next part next week. You know what I'm saying? Because it's kind of long. But as far as what he's saying, I would have to say he sounds like an awakened being. He seems very happy with himself, and I'm happy for him. And you know what? I've walked that passage before. I've done that, what he's talking about. Yeah, for sure I did. And you know when it normally happens? After a breakup. That's when it normally happens, after a breakup. That type of fasting he's talking about, that occurred with me. I remember after that breakup back then, shoot, I went and got 3 jobs. I ended up getting into Jeet Kune Do, and I was like a monk, bro. It was between the job, the dojo, and man, I was like a machine. I was like a machine, you know. So, and it was a good feeling at that time. That's what I needed to do. I needed to do that. I needed to pour all of that, whatever that was, frustration, emotionalism, if I'm not making up a word, into something, you know? So, yeah, I get it. And you know what? It makes you very creative, you know, and you have a lot of energy. You work out more and everything, you know. But I yield the floor. I applaud him.
Yeah, anybody else can jump in if you want to and talk about the wonders of fasting or abstaining from, the worldly devices or the worldly, I guess, desires and kind of uh, things that make you, that make you think it's worth getting involved with a lot. Um, and I applaud that brother because he is a dynamic MC, and I love the growth. I love the development. And if fasting and abstaining from weed and smoking and sex rather, helps him to be a better person, I'm all for it. And I've heard that story like a million times. Um, I've heard of that, it increases your creativity, especially for men. It increases your power. It increases your libido, your stamina. All systems go up. Not saying that you should always abstain. Of course, there's healthy ways to do all of it, but taking that break, taking that moment to put that on pause and self-reflect and grow a little bit that way is a great, great thing.
And I'm gonna jump back in real quick. See, now you opened up the door to the health side of it. You know, your prostate,
right?
Quite frankly, is healthy for your prostate.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
You know, and that's
especially if he was wilding out in these streets. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Give it some time to repair. You know, and I would definitely tell a brother there's a couple of things he could get. You know, he could increase his zinc. You know. Also L-arginine, you know, to help kind of regenerate a little more and also heal a little more if he was a wild cowboy, you know what I mean? But, you know, what he's doing is a good thing. And you know what? In the bigger picture of things for people who are his fans, because, you know, he has a grassroots following like the Grateful Dead, you know? So let's just say Redman.
He travels the planet, so I can imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
All of the, episodes that he could, dialogue about. But hey, we got a comment. We got a comment real quick. Melly, hey, where you been, Melly? Melly from X says, fasting from sex increases your power, creativity, and durability. Hey, thanks, bro. Appreciate you, man. Tap in again.
Absolutely.
And keep tabs with the show as we move along, so we can keep, singing that song of a higher discussion. I want to do I want to jump out of this and I want to jump into, I'm trying to give all our segments a little bit of burn tonight. I want to do a Lit City report featuring two really important people. So let's just jump into that right now and make it do what it do on the Real HD show. Here we go. Hey, so it's a Lit City report. It's the wild, the wacky, the wonderful things that make our world go round, because we need levity and we need to hear that our people are doing good things out here. We always bring you these heavy, heavy, heavy core subjects on the Real HD show. So we wanted to bring you some positive things and some things that, you know, would really move the needle. So let's talk about brother J. Cole. Now, this brother is a dope MC, conscious hip hop dude, bars for days. You know, he locked his hair a while back. He really had an interesting transition. And I think it was because of all his early influences to the music business, to the community activism that he's so involved in. But I wanted to get into a thing that I heard about him and Mooney Long, another artist, right? So it says, I'll enlarge it real quick. It says, Mooney Long says J. Cole left the studio session after hearing her talk negatively about people. He left within 2 minutes. He said he wanted to protect his peace. J. Cole, quote, the only conscious rapper who practices what he preaches. Wow. Interesting. Interesting. Is there a difference with the conscious rappers nowadays from when we were coming up? Do you think they're not made of that stern stuff? Let us know at home. Let us know at home. Are they, you know, the PEs, the X-Clans, the Latifahs, the KRS-Ones, the Rakims, you know, are people not as committed to that? Is it more of a gimmick now than it used to be? And what do you think of J. Cole's stance? He didn't want to be around negativity, so he exited stage left.
You know what?
Glows, brother Mozzie. Godspeed. Let's talk about it.
Is Sister Glow still on? I want to see what she might think about it.
Yeah, she's still here.
All right, I'll expound in the meantime. So you're asking if they made of the same stuff.
I mean, yeah. Also, what do you think of his, you know, his choice?
I think his choice is valid. You know what I mean? I think the young brother was like, yo, man, you know, like, you didn't see what I just did? I made a whole CD dissing someone, and I took it back because I'm trying to free myself of the negativity in this industry. You know, I'm not here to have malice with fellow artists. Apparently, that's how he really feel. So I think he chose to give that example to us so it could be spoken about, to set the barometer, to let people know what kind of time he's on right now. If you're going to work with me, then work with me. Don't try to weigh me down with your negativity. You know what I mean? I'm about this lyricism. I'm about this art. And that's that. You know what I'm saying? Get out of here with your rumors. Get out of here with your nonsense. Even in the Moorish Science Temple of America, they tell you one of the main things you're not supposed to do is gossip. It's written like in the laws of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So what she's doing there was equivalent to that, you know, for him, because he's not in her situation with her. So he doesn't know if her word is valid. Not to say it wasn't. I don't know. We don't know what she was talking about, right? But he looked at it like, yo, not in my cipher. You're not messing up. You're killing my high.
Right. Please don't kill my vibe. Yeah,
Word.
For sure. This is a question for people at home too. Melly, you could jump in if you still rocking with the show. Do you think this is going to be his stance moving forward? He did this here. He didn't want to participate in the Kendrick beef, even though there was some words said about him directly. And do you think this is going to be kind of a universal philosophy of his? And do you think we can get other artists to go along with it, given the travails that they've had? Young Thug going to jail, Gunner is involved in that. NBA YoungBoy going to jail and have all his mental challenges. You know, do you think hip hop is going to turn a corner? I know I'm asking a multiple layered questions, but do you think he can? Is his philosophy, and do we think we can get other folks on board to present the music in a healthier way, doing this sort of thing?
I would say, at least in the way people deal with him directly, for sure. Is he going to inspire others? I'm mighty sure he will, especially when he puts out his next hit song. And because you know how this market is. This market is like this, like to say, it's fickle. You're only as good as your current hit.
Right. You're only funky as your last cut.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah.
With that said, once he starts laying down these records again, shaking up the airwaves, then it'll affect a wider crowd of people. But as far as like an effect over the whole industry, nah, not at all.
No. I know you can't take everybody with you. Everybody can't go. Everybody can't go to the cookout.
Because you see what's going on with the Joey Badass thing. So you see what's going on with that.
Yeah.
They're trying to cook up another East Coast, West Coast thing. The boy, he didn't say anything about an East Coast, West Coast beef. You know what I mean? When you listen to his record. Now, he says something that could lead to them losing business if people were to clamor to him like people clamored to K-Dot. You know what I'm saying? But number one, people ain't going to clamor to him on that level. At least I don't see that. I don't foresee that. Yeah, as dope as he is, I don't foresee it. I think it's going to help him a lot, what's going on, because now he's getting attention. But the same token, let's look at what's happening. Now, people are using this as a thing to answer his record back. Their names wasn't called. They weren't involved. But he made one little error in his lyricism, unless this is what he wanted. If he wanted the Kendrick effect, when Kendrick was on Control, what he's getting it, right? But it's just that what's coming tied to it is the whole West Coast beef, West Coast, East Coast 90s beef stigma that's coming along with it this time around. It didn't happen like that with Kendrick and Control, because when Kendrick kicked his braggadocio about being the king of New York and this and that, he called the names out specifically, right? And we know how the rest of that story went. So it didn't look like an East Coast versus West Coast thing, But the way Joey said what he said when he quoted the Jay-Z line from 22 Twos, the problem is that when you say, quote unquote, why is everybody, almost quote unquote, why is everybody West Coast dick licking, right? Well, yeah, now you kind of widen it out. Some artists going to be pissed off, and now this thing is recreated now, right? And this is what J. Cole is trying to stay away from, all of that. He don't want to catch a stray. He don't want to catch a stray, and he don't want to catch a lyrical stray either, apparently. You know what I mean? They just staying clear of it,
Well, let's just hope that he's reading, he's taking care of himself health-wise, and having peace in his space, and he's evolving into a different sort of artist that we can look up to, move into, and hopefully, tell our kids and our loved ones to check out and make a more indelible mark with the music. I loved Pride Was the Devil. I loved what was the other joint that he had? That whole album was just great. Didn't get a whole lot of fanfare at the end of the day, but dope body of work. He returned, he threw it as a throwback to creating whole, great bodies of work in an album, and I appreciated that. Great car ride album. If you want to put that in a car and drive, you'll be in the zone for sure.
Okay, dope.
Yeah, man. So just want to do that, and also Brother Mozzie posed something to us earlier in a video, and he's always helping me to gather information for the show. And it was a video about the Montgomery bus boycott, and being that we're coming up on MLK's birthday, you know how there's always things left out, omission, things that people don't really talk about, right? So turns out, according to anecdotal history, not just the pantheon of history, not just the history celebrated, but the history on the ground. If you go talk to people that were in Montgomery and what they saw and what they went through, there was way more than one Rosa Parks. And she was really kind of handpicked amongst all of the civil activist groups of the time to, do that measure of activism and protest because other people had already did it. So I want to put this piece up right here. And I want to celebrate these sisters who really don't get a whole lot of celebration for their contribution to the civil rights movement and the Montgomery boycott, which kicked it all off. We have Sarah Mae Fleming, whose Supreme Court justice decision brought a huge amount of motivation and inspiration to the entire civil rights movement. Not enough people talk about Sarah Mae Fleming, and she didn't want to give up her seat, got arrested, protested it, took it all the way to the Supreme Court, eventually won the case, and she went down in infamy. You had Claudette Colvin, who the very same thing happened, and she became one of the Freedom Riders. You had Joanne Gibson Robinson on the bottom right corner. It might be your left, my right. And she was a university professor that urged civil protest, civil movement, and civil unrest to solve problems of the day. Then you had Aurelia Browder and Mary Louise Smith. And then in Canada, you also had who's Canada's Rosa Parks. Let me remove my banner so I can, let me enlarge it. I hope everybody at home can see it. Viola Desmond, who was the Toronto and Quebec version of Rosa Parks. So shout out to these sisters for putting it down, for not giving up, never quitting, being an inspiration to us all, and an inspiration to a movement that changed a lot of lives internationally. Big up to y'all as we celebrate Dr. King and his indelible work. We got these sisters to thank for the motivation of it all and the inspiration of it all, and their sacrifice will not be forgotten. What do you, anybody at home could drop in a comment about these sisters or the panel. It's up to y'all. Y'all can let it fly. Glows forever. What do you think of this indelible panel and their super contributions, although not as celebrated, super important? Let me see.
Take any of these.
We missed like 5 seconds of your.
Oh yeah, I noticed that there was a couple of times I was trying to chime in, and I guess my mic wasn't working. So sorry about that. But no, okay. I think it's great to have each of us just learn more. I love to read and learn about. This is hidden history. So we take pieces of all of these. I think it's great, and just learn about them and teach. Encourage everyone we know to just learn about another person who we may not have heard about, or talk to our family members. And because if you think about it, it wasn't even that long ago. It's 2025, 1965, 75, 81, 90. What was that? 60 years? That's a life. That was decades ago that this was still going on. Sometimes I'm like, Can you imagine that? Like I wasn't born at a time where I couldn't go to a certain restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Just thinking about that,
Right.
or a bus station. But it was within 100 years. It was within that time. So of course, there's so many people that we will never hear about, and that we haven't. So yeah, this is great. Let's get more of it, because they want to ban books and they want to ban stuff that's of value. I'd love to hear our artists. You were talking about the conscious artists. I'd love to hear more music that in art, not just all hip hop, rap, poetry, that tells these stories. I would love to hear it be more charged like that. So that's what I'm hoping, that we can get back to that too.
Oh yeah.
Brother Mozzie, glad you could return. What do you think of our forgotten sisters who put it down so that we could have the liberties we have today? And why do you think their contribution is so lost in the sauce?
I think a lot of it has to do with the feminist movement, because in the feminist movement, there is a fight for power. But for people who never really had power, they still was able to rise to great heights. And God forbid, we talk about these other women over here who, despite all that they're confronted with, are continuing to rise to great heights. And for some reason, they're not able to. So the last thing we want to do is let people know that they actually have a very grand life and experience in history.
And as a matter of fact, Joanne Gibson Robinson was a staunch against it when that sort of thing was, revolving in her circles. And one of her mottos is we don't get high, we don't go higher than each other. We need each other. We don't move further or develop faster if we don't have one another. And she was really dope that way. Y'all should check out some of her stuff. She was powerful as well. We're gonna keep it moving. So that was our Lit City report. And it's time. We're gonna get into this right here. The wildfires in LA, and what in the world that has to do with us. Now you see brother Eddie Griffin, comedian extraordinaire. And he had some very interesting things to say about the wildfires. The wildfires started. It started out as 4, and then with the Pacific trade winds, it blew them into brush fire. Brush fire turns into tree fire. Tree fire turns into this colossal cluster F of that eventually made its way into Hollywood, not into the main sector of Hollywood, but it touched Sunset Strip a little bit. It touched some parts of Altadena, of Malibu, some rich areas. Hollywood Hills caught it in a crazy way. But the city is intact in certain areas and certain means and morsels. So it wasn't super crazy. But everybody's coming out with all these, things. There's some videos of some homeless people lighting some fires. Some light fires to keep warm. Some are lighting fires to be, to kind of get back at the system. They showed that in the movie with Woody Harrelson and hey, Luck, what's the sister that played in From Dusk Till Dawn? And she played the dancer. Not Penelope Cruz.
Ooh, That's Still Dawn. You know what? That was my movie, but
The
I forgot
vampire
who you're
movie.
talking. Yeah, I forgot who you're talking about.
I'm drawing a blank with her.
Yeah.
She's either like Colombian or something. I can't remember her name. Anyway, it was featured in a Netflix movie, and it was like they were like kind of having this experimental romantic relationship, and there was some tech involved, and then it turned out to be like this weird sci-fi dream that they were having, and they were really all part of the homeless population of LA at the end of the day. And they dreamt that they were lovers, and they had this coup and they took over the bourgeoisie. I forget the name of the movie. What is that sister's name?
Oh, you talking about Salma Hayek? Are you talking
Selma
about
Hayek.
Salma Hayek?
There you go. Now I'm trying to.
I think the
We saw
movie
that
was
movie,
called.
Dave. What's the name of that movie?
I think it was called Bliss. I think I can't remember though.
Right,
I'm
because
gonna try to look it
they
up.
had to take a drug, and then it sped up some sort of superpower that helped them make money and be famous and all the things that they couldn't do because they were homeless. And then at the end of the movie, they had to bear with the reality of homelessness and all the rest of it. So, and then of course, you have everybody's got an opinion. You know what I mean? But brother Mozzie blessed me with a vid that I want to play really quick, and it's interesting because folks is telling on themselves, and I want you guys to listen to it really, really quick. And I think the pressure is getting to a lot of folks. And if I could find this clip really fast, let's see. You know what? Let's get into something else. Let us get into something else while I'm trying to find that clip, and we'll get back to it. There's a clip about there's a while I'm looking for that. There's a talk because Trump and Gavin Newsom had a little powwow a couple of months back, and Trump had told Gavin Newsom some ways that he could help mitigate the forest fires in California. And according to the dialogue, Gavin Newsom just laughed at him, and now we're in the position that we're in. Not saying that Trump had the answer, but of course, if people are giving you alternative ways to help manage your state, and they're in a position of an executive, then maybe you should listen a little bit, heed the warnings, and try to make do.
Yeah, let's
While I'm
put a
looking
little
for this,
Lysol. Let's put a
yeah,
little
go ahead, bro.
Lysol in let's put a little Lysol in our veins while we're at it to get rid of COVID. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, let's do a little Lysol. Can we put a little Lysol in?
Yeah, I'm not saying everything that he said was right. But because a clock is right twice a day, you know what I mean. But if somebody's giving you some good advice, right? So, hey, sis, is Jessica Care Moore on that clip?
Yes.
Okay, so I wanna, and I'm glad.
No, she's not. She's not on that clip. She shared it on her page, and
She
that's how
shared
I
it on
got
her
the
page.
clip.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. But I'm gonna play a clip about some things that and some ancient practices that used to happen that could have and possibly have averted these fire catastrophes. Let's check it out real quick.
On pre-colonial indigenous land stewardship techniques, I learned how indigenous nations across the continent used fire as a tool to fertilize the soil with nutrient-dense ash, to regenerate healthy grasslands again and again for deer, elk, and other herbivores, to prevent catastrophic fire by using fire to periodically burn off the fuel loads that would build up on the forest floor. So when the fires occurred in Australia, they were wise enough to admit that it was not just due to climate change. It was mostly due to hundreds of years of suppression, illegalization, and prohibition of Aboriginal fires. Aboriginal people used fire for tens of thousands of years to create healthy, thriving, biodiverse ecosystems. If we're going to fireproof what's left of Southern California forests and safeguard these living treasures, we must empower local indigenous people, like my friend Jessa and others, to do their traditional cultural burns, which are done carefully, at the right time of year, at low intensity to heal the land and protect human and animal communities. Here's my good friend Jessa now. She's indigenous to what's now called the Los Angeles area, using candlelight to film because of the power outage caused by the LA fires.
First and foremost, we want to send our prayers out to our human, animal, and plant relatives. When I think of fire...
All right, so in the interest of time, I think you guys get the gist. Mm-hmm. You guys can go on Jessica Care Moore's page and watch the rest of that video. It's very informative. What do you guys think of that clip? And Melly or anybody else at home, anybody on Mob Crush, anybody on Twitch, you guys can jump in and comment and let us know what do you think about traditional indigenous practices that can help the environment that go ignored, and then of course the land accumulates, and it's almost like an ecosystem that overpopulates, and then it gets diseased because it overpopulates despite warnings. What do you guys think?
I think that hey, look, I'm just going off of this sister's word. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
So this is me purposely being naive enough to take her at her word and believe that this can work. Okay? Because in a sense too, it's like, to me it sounds like when you take a shower, you know what I'm saying? You're showering off parasites and things of that nature. But in
Mm-hmm.
this case, they're gonna use fire to burn it off, right? So coming from my simple way of looking at it, I'll say this much. Most likely it could work because the saying is within their history that this did work. And they're never gonna rock with them on that. They're not. They're not, bro. It's just, it is what it is.
Keeping it a healthy buck.
I'm not even gonna try to get profound on this one or anything like that. They're not gonna rock with them, bro. I yield the floor.
Glows, I know you brought that clip to me. So what do you think about this? And can we install this as certain practices? And Brother Mozzie, I have a question about lobbying to ask you after Glows kind of delivers. You still there, sweetie? Yeah, you just got to cut your mic on.
Yes. I mean, I just think, we got to get more educated as a population and demand. If things are more demanded, I mean, a couple of years ago, you all might remember the pharmaceutical company was trying to triple what they were getting ready to charge for, I think, a diabetic drug. And there was a lot of public outcry, and the pharmaceutical company changed their mind. So even though it sometimes seems like we can't influence change when the private sectors, if enough of us push on those things, we can. But I think, we just have to get educated about climate change and what's going to help improve things. Now they're getting ready to install Kennedy, and he's allegedly, into health and different holistic aspects of health that were once seen as a fluke, but now it's becoming even popular in conservative circles, which is interesting. So it might be some change, but I do agree with what Brother Godspeed was saying, that they're probably not going to want to embrace this. They're probably going to try to look to traditional means. But I do think we could be influential if enough of us start learning about alternatives. We know that the soil is damaged. It's impacting our food quality. So if there's enough of a movement for people to look at how we can improve the quality of the soil, it could happen. But if it's looked at as just something new agey and not respected, then maybe it, won't increase.
Brother Mozzie, do you think that we could lobby, if we formed lobby, and we could use lobby in more powerful ways to enact things like this, if in being that it was practiced and proven not only here but in places like Australia and other places around the world, would this be a worthwhile endeavor to lobby for?
I think we as the melanated folks of America need to have a lobby, period.
Yes, sir.
We don't have one. And even if we have a lobby, we still have to back that lobby up with money.
Yes.
These guys have to build their coffers. And we can't just have a lobby that goes down there and just handshake and say, please, we got to make sure that we write the checks and put some money in their coffers. America has the best democracy money can buy. Everyone that has the interests met in America put money into politicians' pocket, period. Until we understand that game, we're still going to be spinning our tails, man. And as our great ancestor once said, James Baldwin, that Black people of America are politically unsophisticated and internationally illiterate.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Nice quote.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
I mean, that's in a nutshell.
Yeah, you know what that gonna get, right, Luck?
Yeah. Yep. I know. I'm trying to make sure I don't get burned by it.
That's the fire comment right there. Fire, 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 fire. Yeah, man. So, real quick story. I used to go to Camp Menacing, which is in Dover Plains, New York. And we used to, it was in the Native tradition because, of course, my family is heavy in that. A lot of people's families was heavy in that. And they were out of 142nd Street, 142nd and Lenox. Shout out to them, the townhouse and the camp. And, of course, we used to practice that. Like before we would powwow, the morning we would do that low. And it's almost like a low flame sort of burn. It's not even... And it's contained. You build up markers, you build up perimeters, and you contain it. But it does burn off excess oils, excess fuels, excess dew on the forest floor so that you don't have forest fires, wild outs. Because really all it takes, somebody drop a barbecue pit, whoosh, the twigs, the shrubbery, things like this. Why an entire government of a California state would ignore something like that? Weird as hell. Weird as hell. And what's up with these Rosnick people who own 80% of the water? Let's talk about that.
America is for sale.
Yes. Why though? Why are all America's water systems for sale? New World Water, Luck. What's up?
I ain't got the answer.
We talking Wisconsin. We talking Baltimore. We're talking Michigan. We're talking Jacksonville, Mississippi. We're talking, and now California. And it's probably here too. It's probably here too. We don't even know.
Because here's what happens. Those individuals who have the ability to sell the rights to water, which I don't know how we, have the rights to sell water, but those individuals do so because they're short-sighted, selfish, and narcissistic. And so they want to get their money and be able to say, hey, I don't care what happens in America. I'm insulated. Why? Because I just sold the rights to the Colorado River coming into California, for $3 billion. Now I'm part of that 0.5% on the planet. I can buy anybody I want to buy.
Wow.
That's the American way.
Yes, sir. I found that clip that you gave me from earlier, so we're gonna drop it right now before we reach the 10 o'clock mark because we're gonna get off of here at that mark. But this is really instrumental, and then I'll play the Eddie Griffith piece, and we could build on this. Check this out, Real HD Show.
Let's take care of our mental and physical health first before we embark upon what is going to be a journey to rebuild these communities back and rebuild them better than they were when we started this fire.
Whoa, I don't think you heard me. I don't think you heard me. I'm going to run that back one more again. Listen to the last line of the dialogue.
I heard what he said.
Here we go.
My first piece of advice to you is let's take care of our mental and physical health first before we embark upon what is going to be a journey to rebuild these communities back and rebuild them better than they were when we started this fire.
Wow.
What in the...
That is crazy. I gotta replay this and let my lady hear this. Oh my God.
When we started the fire. So,
oh my goodness.
If you love a tinfoil kufi, there you go.
Yep. You see that?
Run with it. It's going viral now.
But here's what's even funnier. Los Angeles, if anyone ever been to Los Angeles, it's a very spread out city.
Mm-hmm.
You can't create a 15-minute city with everybody spread out the way they are. And another thing that was interesting about the Palisades in particular. You know, the average property in the Palisades is going for like $4 to $5 million minimum.
Mm-hmm.
The average salaries combined is only like $200,000. So most of these people are getting properties that are handed down. This is also part of the result of this artificial inflation of property values. So now these people are considered millionaires because their home now is valued at $13.5 million. But they're just regular Joes, regular middle-class Joes.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the interesting piece. Those regular middle-class Joes have done what they've done, like they do here in Rochester, like they've done in a lot of black neighborhoods. They don't like the value of their home to go up because they would have to pay more taxes. So what they did was they promoted Prop 13, which allowed for their taxes not to go up.
Sheesh. Damn.
So now my taxes ain't going up. And I got a $13-14 million house. So now if the city was getting this money, it'd be cool in the game. But think about it. I can't collect no money no more if I'm a city person. Let me read something to you here. And remember, we all know about the insurance companies canceling insurance.
Right.
And the reason why they canceled insurance was because of Proposition 103 in California, which made it illegal to accurately price fire insurance. And insurers can only use historical data, not projections. And the reason why they didn't want them to use projections is because we're going to now project this house to be $13 to $14 million so I can sell it. And now I'm living on Easy Street. But I don't want the insurance company to say my house is worth that kind of money because now I got to pay the taxes. And here's an interesting fact. The majority of the homeowners in the Pacific Palisades was delinquent on their taxes. They didn't even pay their taxes.
Teach. Wow.
They paid
with the conflation of all these state bonds that are going on that influence the rental market and the real estate market, like we talked about. They're damn near cheating the real estate market with these bonds that they're just there you go, getting over hand over fist. We talked about that in a show a little far back, a little earlier in the year. But go ahead, bro. I just want to remind the people of that.
Oh yeah. So once again, we have this artificially inflated market. And the insurance company is saying, hey, let me see some data, back this up with some type of data that validates the pricing that you're coming up with and the values that you're coming up with. And that's, if you can't do it, then we're not going to insure you anymore. And that's their right. They said the average Pacific Palisade, the median income was $200,000, paying only 9% in taxes. Local, state, and local taxes, and only 1.17% in property taxes. I wish I was paying 1% in property taxes. This little house I got here in Rochester, man, I'm paying more taxes than the guy with a $13 million house. Literally,
facts.
They showed the
facts, numbers. Super facts.
I'm paying more with my little 1,000 square foot house. Finish the attic, finish the basement to get every square foot I can get out of this bad boy. And they are only, and I pay more taxes than these people who got 3,000 and 4,000 square foot houses that are valued at $13 million.
Wow.
But here's what's happening, though. If you don't pay the city, you can't get mad if the city can't go out there and clear out the brush. Why you going to get mad at them? You ain't got no money. Because you ain't, not only is your tax rate low, you ain't paying the taxes.
Mm.
And there was no recourse for them to go and take the properties back.
Right.
Because of Prop 13.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
And then check this out. Last year, Governor Newsom vetoed a bill that would have let CAL FIRE retain seasonal firefighters to help with staffing shortages.
Yes.
His veto forced the layoff of thousands of seasonal firefighters who he never replaced, despite his negligence of the highest order. They're trying to blame this guy. Listen, man. If y'all want to live like this in California, I mean, down in the Palisades in LA and all that, don't get mad. They had no money. They talking about, they cut $17 million from the fire department budget. $17 million would not have solved that problem that they had.
And not only that, but they lost a lot of firefighters due to this.
Mm.
There you go.
Whoa. Yep. There we go. Right back to
They
that
lost
topic
a lot of good men and women that could have helped out in this situation.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And then the second, what Brother Mozzie talking about, the city water chief knew that reservoir was empty, knew that all of the problems, the hydrants were broken, the reservoir was empty, and knew that they were headed into a fire season, and chose to make the fire chief, the water chief, all of them chose to make LGBTQ ideals their priority instead of the civics of the city. Absolutely.
And that is the
absolutely mind-blowing.
And that is the stain of DEI.
Yeah.
So this fire right here is going to be one of the main reasons why, and it leads to the argument about DEI. But DEI, as we both know, is a code word for Black folks.
Yeah.
But DEI, when we look at this situation, a lot of women, a lot of LGBT women, transition women, all that different stuff that they go through.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's why a lot of people are dropping it left and right. Because what's happening is you're getting people in there and they purposely put in people who really aren't qualified.
Right.
So it almost creates that Hegelian dialectic. We know that these people ain't good, and we know it's going to create this problem. So we got the solution, and the solution is going to be we got to get rid of them, and we got to get rid of DEI. And the woman's making $700,000 more than the mayor.
That's crazy.
More than the mayor. And the sister who's mayor, I feel sorry for her because, once again, identity politics. Sister end up as mayor. She looked about as lost as a 3-year-old at a Squibs spelling bee, man.
Yeah. So, Brother Godspeed, man, what do you think of a governor who chooses fish to conserve water for fish over conserving water for human consumption and human life when fire season is coming around? That's what Gavin Newsom did.
Yeah. The salmon.
You know what? In the immortal words of the legendary Mel Gibson, tell him don't put so much gel in his hair.
Yeah, that part. Just priorities all in the wrong place, man.
Well, it's not even about priorities in the wrong place. I just think because people are so caught up in these and the facets of these ideologies that it leads them down the road to where they have blind spots and they can't make connections to things that take place. There's a disconnect. Because if this place is burning and you done made certain decisions that is going to have a certain effect, and then when it happens, and then you try to justify it, you're just not getting it, man. And because the stories and the things that they give you, you're like, what? Man, give me a wet noodle, something, smack them in the face with it, man, because that just ain't making no sense.
Exactly.
It sounds like you're dealing with the Three Stooges or something.
Exactly. These are decisions any one of us would have made better decisions than these clowns are making. But now that you showed me what you showed me, it's kind of wow. You know, my younger brother looking like a prophet again, because he looked at me and was like, come on, Luck. You think it would be so strange that they did that on purpose?
Poor Patrice. Oh.
You know, he's like, do you think it'll be so strange? He was like, yo, look, come on, man. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Come on. I was like, yeah, you got a point.
So that brings me to a point I wanted to bring up, and I'm glad we get into it right before we get ready to get off. That with the over 200 racial riots that occurred on American soil against melanated people, fire was the weapon of destruction and the weapon of choice in many instances. When you wanted to move a population off of one said land to another said land, these savages chose fire. You had Tulsa, Oklahoma. You had Wilmington, North Carolina. You had Rosewood, all the way up to the MOVE movement in Philadelphia. They firebombed it. And did y'all hear about how they gave the remains back of John Africa and some of the people, and they were all headless? Did y'all peep that out?
No, I didn't hear about that one.
No.
Yeah. They got rabbis selling organ body parts all over the place. Jewish rabbis selling body parts all over the place.
Yes, I heard about that one.
Busted, right? But yet the MOVE people came back with missing body parts.
Wow.
Very interesting. Just saying.
Yeah.
I'm not conspiracy theorist, but I could see the forest for the trees. You know what I'm saying? Let's get it. Go ahead.
Explain it away. That's all I say. Explain it away.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna get in what Brother Eddie Griffith said, because that deserves some time, because it's about the babies, and I'm always about the children by nature of my work. So I gotta give Eddie. Now, you know, anybody remember that record store in the 80s, Crazy Eddie's? It was in New York City.
Yeah, Crazy. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And he had that commercial where he would scream all the time and run around like his head was on fire. And he got people to come and buy the records all over New York City and all over New York State. And Crazy Eddie's insane. Well, Eddie Griffith is kind of a crazy Eddie, right? But in order to be a comedian, you got to be kind of genius, because you got to be a master observer, right? And then you got to change those observations into comedic punchlines that tell the truth through and make people laugh by showing a darker or lighter side of the truth, right? So Brother Ed came through with some interesting things to say, and I want to get into it right now before we leave. I know everybody on Mob Crush and Twitch was waiting for this, so here it is. I hope you're still there with me, Melly.
With taxpayers' dollars, how the y'all gonna sign it over to this goddamn couple? Sons of bitches. Let's pray for the motherfuckers out there that houses is burning down and shit, unless they pedophiles. If they pedophiles, come let that get burn. Cause I know what you're doing. You're burning the evidence up, sons of bitches, but we still gonna catch you. And let somebody do some research. In the rich neighborhoods, who had already left their house and knew that the fire was coming?
That gets into what you was talking about, Brother Mozzie.
We know. I don't care if you're blood. Wear blue. Play it safe. Wear blue until this is up. We'll be right back.
Yeah, he might be talking about some folks trying to ride. Brother Godspeed, what's your thoughts on what Brother Griffin had to say about, folks kind of hedging their bets in the Hollywood Hills?
I'm still absorbing it. I ain't really got a thought on it, to be honest with you. I'm still absorbing.
Well, I did some work to get ready for the show. And if you put pedophiles on Hollywood Hills, geez Louise.
Hollywood Hills and the Palisades.
Like that?
The concentrations.
Wow. You get everybody and their mama commenting. And of course, there was the Netflix special, Quiet on the Set, where all of the Disney kids that was involved with all those kiddie shows was testifying and signifying about how they was used and abused as child stars, right? So all I'm gonna do is share my screen real quick, and we're just gonna scroll down the tulips like Pepe Le Pew, right? We're gonna scroll tiptoe through the tulips of the internet and look at all of these people that were kids at the time and what they went and what they endured. Corey Feldman, we all know him. He was a child star from Goonies and what was that? What was the vampire movie? Elijah Wood. He was a child star from Lord of the Rings. An Open Secret. You know what I'm saying? Pedophilia in Hollywood was, is running rampant. The sinister Hollywood sinister pedophilia. Steven Spielberg involved. Robert Downey Jr. almost blew the whistle on it. Mark Wahlberg. This is all. Look at all these people that were child actors who were involved with this. It's running rampant. Jewish actor Corey Feldman wants to expose the pedophile ring. Elijah Wood. What's the
he
guy?
died. Somehow
Macaulay
he later
Culkin.
died.
Go ahead, bro.
Why do pedophilia in Hollywood get a free pass?
Kate Beckenridge. Man, the list goes on and on and on. Jeffrey Epstein's statements on it. The Grease director is talking about his image being sullied over a pedophile piece. Jeez, I mean, crazy on crazy. So is the question to ask, is Eddie Griffith wrong? And is this some sort of karma for all the predatory practices that have happened? There's a scene. If you just watch Quiet on the Set, you'll see all the Nickelodeon Disney kids just giving it up. Yo, this one touched me. That one molested me. This one took me here and ran me up in the Hollywood Hills and ran one up in me. And this one did that. And they even coerce these kids outside of their parents, man. Me and my daughter sat and watched Quiet on the Set together because she's an aspiring performer. She's going to be down in Bama doing The Odd Couple coming up in February, and she's got a leading role in that. Man, I wish her all the best for it. But, man, so I had to ask her about her stance on these type of things, her stance on the casting couch, her stance on, and is she thinking through these things? And does she have a philosophy for it? Or does anything just go because it's going to promise you notoriety and opportunity? Brother Cosby, man, what do you think of how much the internet is littered with child actors? And I'm sure there's a crap ton more that would give it up if they really had the opportunity to. What do you think?
Like we know Hollywood has its things, and even the brother that used to be on Sanford and Son, he was questioning about these parties and stuff like that. And he gave an answer that I didn't expect. He was like, he never seen any of that. And I guess after a while it was more like, well, I didn't go to those parties. You know what I mean? So I was like, wow. But hey, look, it's not surprising. It's absolutely not surprising. Let's be real.
As one of the few people in the public eye,
all the stuff that's been going on. I mean, come on. They have the whole camera and attention on Diddy, but come on, Diddy is a microcosm of a vast, universal macrocosm of what goes on in Hollywood, or any Hollywood associated parties in any state.
So you saying it was a universal practice?
Heck yeah. I mean, to me, it's not shocking. You know what I mean? It's like, but when you roll it up the way you just rolled it up, it just makes that reality like just, so real. Like even more so than just surmising, or if I'm not using the word incorrectly, or just, in the air, like, oh yeah, it's not unexpected. Yeah, but it's very real at the same time. You know what I mean? It's like individuals, many went through this stuff. Many. You know, they're shining a light on Diddy or whatever because, you know, he pissed somebody off somewhere. Look, we saw him in the city with his bow. We seen that back in the 90s. He came through to the underground spot where we was all at, where Killer Priest was performing and whatnot. And yeah, he was in there with an exotic looking dude. My brother and them called him out on it. They was like, yo, look, Puffy right over there. And that's when he started, you know, duck tucking and rolling up out of the club, you know. But so his little stuff that was going on, it's nothing new to heads that really know. You know what I'm saying? But it's just that when you put it on the screen for all to see, and with the media's gift to dress something up and make it look so unusual, for lack of finding better words, then it becomes so sensationalized and it becomes the worst thing on God's green earth. You know what I mean? When it's been going on, it's just Roman practices. This is being romantic, okay? These people are being romantic, right? Just like that comedian, what's his face, Schultz. He talked about being romantic with Kendrick. He said he might get into it, right? Oh yeah, I take that very serious. That's enough for a beatdown. You know what I'm saying? And
right, round the way, yeah, for sure.
That's a beatdown. All right.
Yeah.
So hey, look at that microcosm of a macrocosm. Look what he's trying to impose. He's trying to say, well, Kendrick looked like a little skinny dude, so I could impose my will upon him. I could buck break him for standing up for black women. I could buck break him.
You're talking about the dude with the little Hitler mustache.
Yeah,
got
Schultz.
Podcast, right? Running his mouth.
Schultz.
Yeah, Schultz. Yeah.
Schultz.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cornball.
Yeah. Microcosm of a macrocosm.
Yeah, man. But before we get ready to close out, thanks for rocking with us. Thanks for rocking out with the Real HD Show. We'll probably do a part 2 of this on Monday to give it more legs and let it breathe, and I'll get to it a lot faster. Bill Maher has a whole section on this called Kid and Pray, which is tongue-in-cheek for Kid and Play, the old rap group. And he's talking about all of the disastrous, debaucherous, sodomy, and crazy stuff that went on at Nickelodeon and Disney as the kids were growing up. And, you know, I'm not saying that this is directly connected with the wildfires, but it may be some karma in the mix. You know what I mean? And for everybody on the Real HD Show, I want to thank everybody for joining. I want to thank everybody for coming on. I want to thank everybody in the chat for participating. Please like, share, and subscribe. And make sure you tap in on Monday when we have another show. I'm going to say peace. Y'all walk with power. And I wish y'all well, love on each other. If y'all could help the folks out in Cali in some of their fundraising endeavors, and if you have loved ones out there, reach out, bring them into your homes, and make sure they are okay. I'm going to say peace. Y'all walk with power, and I will see y'all on Moon Day. All right, we out.